Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy November to you. Happy best day of the week. Happy to have all of you here. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you're brand spanking new. We are High Top Sports. I am your co-host for the evening show, Pete Walker. Let's have a good time. Sit back, relax, grab yourself a little koozie, boozy. Let's have some fun. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host for the evening. Standing at 4'2", 695 pounds. He benches 450 15 times, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. David Swolder Quist, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, your fan favorite. He's got 6'4" heads, ladies and gentlemen. He's the ugliest guy I know. Steven Chad, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How you doing? Good to see you.
What's going on, man?
How you feeling? I thought we were doing no shades, Dave. I thought we were spicy, Dave, today. You chose other?
I always have the shades on when we begin the show.
I'm just asking a question, Dave. Boys, let me forewarn you before the show gets started here. I don't know if you can tell or not, but Dave's got a polo on. And Dave,
hey, hold on. You get cheap plug. You can pick this up at Alma Mater, or you message me. I'll give you the affiliate link. You can go ahead and buy one of those for yourself. Actually, I got this from Fanatics, so this isn't actually Dave's link, but they sent me a couple hats. But still, you can get them from Fanatics. If you need it, I'll send you Dave Waters' link. You can get these too.
What the fuck? Just pulling the podcast here. All right, fuck. I thought. Dave's spicy, boys. I don't. He's on a whole another level right now. He is razzle dazzled, ready to rock and roll. So just forewarning you, just be prepared. I don't know what's gonna happen, but precast. We was Holly and I didn't know what to say.
Dicey. It was dicey. It was dicey. I mean,
we got Shamar James. Sorry?
I said spicy meatball.
We got Shamar James, breaking news, out for the season. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. Obviously, Gators play the Razorbacks. What does that mean? What's going to happen? By the numbers, Dave and I will break that down a little bit. Massive recruiting weekend. Really, I mean, not the last big recruiting weekend because we have FSU, but I would love to see us to land one on this weekend, and we'll talk about that. Michigan, obviously, in just complete shambles. And then we have a question about Austin Armstrong, tab into that a little bit. And then, of course, we've got the pick'ems of the week, tweets of the week. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be a jam-packed show. Before we dive into any of that, though, you guys heard my take about Florida, Georgia. Steve was there. He obviously watched the game. Dave is ecstatic how the game went. But Steve, let's go with you first. How do you feel as an opposing fan base about this Florida, Georgia this past weekend?
I felt like Florida got away from their offense a little too quickly. I understand that there was a quick turn of events that got Georgia a decent cushion to work with. I feel like Florida got out of their offense and it got them a little frazzled. You could see them maybe getting a little desperate early on. Maybe Billy getting a little bit anxious to try to keep that game closer when he needed to play it closer to the vest. Overall, look, I think the game took a strange turn within the first 18 minutes of gameplay. And I think at that point, it just kind of threw everything else into a tailspin. So look, a traditional start to a game where you're not down 17 that quickly, I think you would have seen a more traditional offense and a more structured gameplay coming from the Florida side of things. I think that just they got hit with a haymaker and it made them wobbly from that point on.
Mr. Dave?
Oh, man, where do I start? Well, first of all, if you have a 4th and inches on your own 31, you probably just need to quarterback sneak it and not go for a trick play to a running back to throw to one of your wide receivers that Georgia just sniffs out automatically once the ball is even snapped. So I think that's the first thing you do. Second of all, Damian George needs to be replaced. Like, he's a liability there at right tackle. I mean, like, this guy's giving up pressures all the time. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He probably needs to be moved more onto the interior side, but I've seen enough of Damian George on that edge. He's given up too many pressures, too many sacks. He is the responsible guy for those 2 fumbles that we had in that game that made that game turn around like that. So
Did
if you can't, as a coaching staff, see that on your offensive line and somebody that's not performing up to their standard, and you're still listing them as a starter for the next week, then you're just doing it to yourself. So that part really irritated me. And then the fact that like you're down 26-7, which is fine, but there's 10 minutes left in the second quarter, right? So you panic and you start passing the football like a madman and being very predictable to that offense. I mean, there's 2 high safeties and you're still passing the football. Your offensive line was pushing them around at the beginning. You were getting like 12-yard chunks right up the middle. I think I remember a run from Montrell Johnson right up the middle for like 10 yards, 12 yards. You're getting them on the edge. And I said before the game, I said, look, their linebackers aren't that great. They're not good in coverage. They can't tackle. They're pretty young. Test the edges. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're down 26-7. You can still run the ball in the second quarter at 10 o'clock because what that does is keep Georgia's offense off the field, depletes their defense, gets them tired. Then they slide the safety up or they go one high safety, and then you can start passing the football. And I think that was just dumb. I mean, you had that first down on 3rd and long that Damian George had given up and Mertz had fumbled the football. But, like, even after that, you shouldn't have freaked out. You shouldn't have tried to get fancy. You shouldn't have tried to do anything else. You shouldn't have tried the 4th and inches thing. That's what dug you that hole. I mean, you take away the turnovers you gave them at your own 20 and 30, this game's probably a little bit closer. And it's probably more contested as well. You already ended the game in the second quarter with 10 minutes left, and you did nothing. And this is the other thing that really irritated me too is, in fact, you go to halftime. There was 3, I believe it was 3 drives where Florida had stopped Georgia. They had to punt. Not one score was scored on all 3 of those punts at all. That was your chance to catch up and get that score back to where it's supposed to be. Same old scripted plays, same old passing plays, no run game whatsoever. You're not even trying to run the football. I mean, look, if you go back to the statistics, and I said this at the end of the game, and I said, I don't know why Florida got away from the run. Montrell Johnson averaged 9.1 yards per carry. And I know he had that big 48-yard run towards the end, still averaging 6 to 7. Trevor Etienne averaging over 6 yards per carry. And you're just not feeding them the ball at all. I mean, once you got into that third quarter, you had to pass the ball at that point because you're down so many points that you have to do something here. And it was frustrating to see just based on the fact that, like, I could have called better offensive plays. I could have called better plays when there's 4th downs. I could have literally been OC that game, and that score would have been probably a lot closer. And I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to know that, like, your defense, I even said before the game, your defense is going to get scored on. I already knew they were. Bama Conkey's good. I knew they had some good players out there. And I knew Brock Bowers was out of the game, but I still knew that Georgia was going to go down the field and they were going to score points. How do you punch them back in the mouth? Like, we're tackling, like, I mean, like, I've seen so many plays where, like, a wide receiver would catch football and the guy would go to tackle him and just touch him. Knock the son of a bitch out, man. Knock him on his ass. Make him scared to where when he catches a ball beside you, he's afraid he's going to take a hit. There you go. You play better defense. And then on top of that, your defensive line's not getting any pressure whatsoever. So it allows Carson Beck to sit back there for 8 seconds and have a meal and just toss it to anybody out there. So, yeah, I mean, it was a piss poor performance for Florida. But, hey, you know what? I just report the news, so.
Can we come back or?
Yeah, I'm
all right.
I got the demons.
Let me ask you this, Dave. Let me ask you this. Give us some positives from the game. Give us let's talk about happy thoughts. Like, give us some positives that you took away from the game.
Graham Mertz isn't as bad as everybody said he was going to be. How about that?
I mean, already knew that though.
I don't care. This guy is taking like 1 million sacks, 1 million pressures this whole year, and he's still putting up the stats that he's putting up. Give that dude an offensive line. Give that guy some help, man. You want a Heisman winner. You want this this national championship that we always talk about every year. Get the dude an offensive line. Stop recruiting guys that are in the top 1,000s, top 750s. Get some top 250s, some top 100s, some top 50 guys in here. These guys aren't going to be able to do these kind of things against a bunch of 5 stars that Georgia has, or a bunch of 5 stars that LSU has, or a bunch of Auburn 5 stars. Or, I mean, like, look, when I see Auburn and South Carolina and some of these other teams having way closer games against Georgia and you're just getting blown out in Jacksonville, I mean, there's a recruiting issue, and it's probably on that line of scrimmage because that's pretty much what I saw all game. But, I mean, like I said, I just report the news. So,
That started positive. That started positive.
I love
And then
Polo Dave.
it started to veer off. So I got to reel that back in.
But hey, Polo Dave's a special kind of day, boys and girls. It's like Sober Steve. I mean, it's just something special. You know what I mean? Did you see
Get Graham Mertz an offensive line, please?
Did you happen to watch the film breakdown with Stephen Harris on Monday speaking to Damian George? I want to know if you took that, like if you were kind of building off of what you watched, or if you felt that on. Obviously, we all saw, but did you see him talk about that a play we broke down with Damian George?
No, I did not. But the thing is like I don't even think Damian George is a bad player. He's playing out of position. Like he's not fast enough to get some.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were going over with Stephen Harris. That's what we were breaking down. Just there was a play. It was like third and long, and Damian George just doesn't get. I don't know what the technical term was. Like just basically his feet shuffling underneath him, and the edge blows right by him, and Damian George is sitting there just kind of high fives him on the way by. So it was interesting when you brought it up. I didn't know if you kind of came to your own conclusion, which I assumed you probably did. But yeah, I think it's definitely a glaring issue. And look, I think you kind of nailed the hammer on the head there. It's just the line, the trenches in general. I didn't say it right, Steve. Leave me alone. But yeah, you're right. We've got to go close. We got to close strong on recruiting for the offensive line. I talked about that on Monday too. I can't remember who posted it. I think either Delator posted it. If you look at the edge average recruiting number, it's like 90 to 93 comparing to Georgia. Offensive line average rating for the last few years is like 87 for Florida compared to like 92 for Georgia.
That is so unacceptable for the University of Florida. 87
for offensive line, and their edge is 93. So that's what we're going up against, right? An average of 87 recruiting against an average of a 93.
Hey, listen here, Rob Sale. If you need me to recruit for you, just give me a call, baby. I'm right here. I got you. I can talk to these kids. Don't worry.
Holy!
I've heard a lot of folks volunteering their services since Saturday afternoon at about 6:00. I know Shelton volunteered to literally be a moving guy. He was gonna be a moving guy in case Rob Sale needed some help packing his belongings, potentially moving them into some type of vehicle that would transport those belongings from one place to another. I think that was Shelton's offering. If anybody was looking for
just here to help. $5 from Between the Hedges says, shout out to Dave for picking the Gators. Go Gators.
Actually, I said that I had a special guest that was going to pick that, and he's still wearing that Georgia. He
feels pretty good about it.
Yeah, Drake's still wearing that, and they got to play Missouri this weekend, so I'm waiting on it.
Okay, we could see some magic this weekend. Real quick though, Shamar James just broke right before the show, out for the season, unfortunately, with a dislocated kneecap, I believe. I remember on Saturday, Coach Napier stated that it's an older injury that's kind of been in the background, and now it's obviously it resurfaced when did you see the football field on Saturday? Unbelievable, just disgusting. I have no clue what that was. I have no idea, but the whole thing was just tore up from the floor up. And now, obviously, they're trying to put blame on. That's why he, twisted his knee. But go ahead.
That makes me wonder if any Georgia players have injuries too. I haven't looked.
I mean, I don't think it was like set up like that. But so he'll be out, which means it's going to put a lot of pressure on Scooby, Tarada Mitchell, Derek Wingo, who we haven't seen too much of, but I like his energy, so I'm not too worried about that. And then obviously Manny Nunnery is going to be getting the start. So I'm looking at the depth chart now. So Scooby and Nunnery are going to be our 1-2 now with Tarada Mitchell and Derek Wingo. And again, all these guys, I mean, think about Mitchell. I mean, he was a transfer from Michigan, a senior. And so, look, there's got to start being some critical evaluation, because that was a Billy guy that he went after in the portal, and we haven't really seen much of him. He hasn't really been that effective. And that was a guy that Billy went after and, recruited. So, I don't know. There's a lot of question marks here, but it's unfortunate that Shamar goes down. It feels like, again, we had momentum, right? We beat South Carolina, big game. We get the recruit in LJ McCray, and then we roll into Georgia, and all the wheels just come falling off. Like it's like a step backwards. Cool. No, we're gonna turn the bus around. We're just gonna start over. We're gonna just, you know what? Just quit it.
There's a reason why I did not go off on the D-line coaches, is because they're actually doing their job in recruiting. We just got to wait for them to get here. But yeah. Other than that,
fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, Shamar James being out is I mean, you're missing a key piece there, especially from one of your linebackers. And now we get to see, who steps up. Manny Nunnery. I mean, you got Derek Wingo that could play. I mean, you got so many guys, Jaden Robinson, who could play in that position as well. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool because we get to see like what the other guys are made of, but at the same time, it's really terrible to be missing such a good player there at a linebacker. Obviously, you still have Scooby Williams there, but I mean, missing Shamar James is big. It's huge, and Arkansas likes to run the football. I mean, their offense is not the greatest. Their offensive line isn't, but they did have a lot of close games. I mean, they had a close game with Alabama. I mean, Mississippi State, that was not a game to brag about. But I mean, if you look at like Arkansas's past like 3 or 4 games, they've been really close. They just haven't been able to get over the hump and win the football game. And I'm wondering if this will be kind of the same game here in the Swamp. I hope it's not, and I hope we just pull out a victory and win our 6th game of the season. And but as far as these people, I mean, look, you still have, I mean, Tyreek Sapp, he's out. You got Cam Jackson. They're both questionable. So we don't know if they're going to play or not, but I'm assuming they're out if they say questionable. But their offensive line isn't great anyway. I still think we win the football game. And when it comes, like, if you were to ask me right now, but KJ Jefferson, he's got some wheels. He can't really pass the ball that well, but he's got some wheels on him. So I'm curious to see, with the linebackers being out, if KJ Jefferson goes off for a run, what happens there? Does he go to the side where originally Shamar James would be, or does he go to where Scooby Williams is at? I mean, there's so many ways, I guess, that the Arkansas offense can attack you. And I guess we'll get into that later, especially since they, fired their OC, and so we don't even really know what to expect. But I mean, it's going to be interesting, I think. But I still think, I mean, this team's 2-6 for a reason. I mean, but we tend to make teams that aren't great look good. So I mean, it's just it's what it is. What it is, I guess.
Yeah, look, it's a big blow to leadership. To Shamar James has definitely been a big, I would say, a voice in the locker room as alongside Cam Jackson and Tyreek Sapp. So those guys being questionable, I mean, we're over here running thin all of a sudden really quickly with the line. So
and that also comes to recruiting, man. Like if Georgia has an injury like that, next man up. Alabama.
I mean, you saw it. I mean, Brock Bowers went down, and I swear to goodness, the number 4, whoever that tight end was, I thought it was Brock Bowers just putting a jersey on. They kept showing Brock was on the sideline. I was like, I don't think that's the Brock Bowers. I think this is that's just a clone. I don't know what's going on. It's AI generated Brock Bowers on the sideline because I swear to goodness, he's wearing the number 4 jersey. Everyone's like, oh, like I was like, bro, I don't think we missed a beat. Like
I think Delp was in place that game.
Yeah, help. I called him help because I was going, help, please, somebody help and cover.
help, please don't let him catch the ball anymore. Yeah, help,
please.
No.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey had like 135 yards on us. So
on one play.
He was one of the wide receivers that your DB decided to play 2-hand touch with every time he caught something across the middle. It seemed like the DB was more worried about the other DB coming the other way, making contact with him. Because like there was a DB that went low on a couple plays, and he was more worried about the DB taking out his own legs and kind of just 2-hand touch the wide receiver than he was actually tackling the wide receiver. I don't know. There was a couple times where it just felt like the 2 DBs were almost scared that they were going to just knock each other out as opposed to the wide receiver. A couple times, actually.
Yeah. You know what happens when somebody catches a football and you just knock the hell out of them? They could possibly fumble the ball. But if they don't, I mean, at least you still tackled them, right?
That is true.
I think the main consensus here is that, look, the team feels like it's been a little soft in areas. And we've talked about that with, Stephen Harris about just we need to see some more, aggression, more heart on the football field. That guy across from you, he's got blood in his body, hit somebody, right? Make that blood come out of his mouth. And we just haven't seen that. I mean, the tackling's been atrocious. And look, I think go ahead.
It's football. It's football. That's what you sign up for. Knock the hell out of the son of a bitch.
And so, look, this kind of leads into the next question that's kind of started to, I would say, move around the Gators sphere. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm not trying to create any nonsense here. I see the comments already. I can see the future. However, I see things, I hear things, and this is where Gator Nation heads is Armstrong over his head. Is he too young? Did Billy make too much of a stretch with Armstrong? And we're going to give our thoughts here, but I'm going to pass it to Dave really quick just to kind of read some stats off from this year to last year, and then we're going to go from there.
Yeah, I'm just going to run it. I'll just lead off with some basic stats here, and this is against FBS opponents. They do not count FCS opponents at teamrankings.com. Florida yards per game given up is 365 yards. They've given up 365.1 yards per game. Last year, they were giving up 412.3 yards against FBS opponents. This year, passing yards given up, they're giving up 222.6. Last year was 233.9, so a little bit small marginal improvement. Rushing yards given up per game, 142.6, 2022, 178.4. But turnover margin, I didn't really get to that, but you can obviously tell there's way, way, way less turnovers this year than there was last year. I think that is what's really hurting this defense as well, is they're not really getting that many turnovers. And obviously, you get a turnover, keep your offense back on the field. It's easier to score that way sometimes, depending on field position. But I mean, a lot of things can change these stats. I mean, if your offense stays on the field longer and they can drive a football for 10 plays for 5 or 6 minutes, it gives your defense a rest. They come out there fresh. At the same time, it keeps the other team's offense off the field, which also improves your defensive numbers as well. So, I mean, you could talk, defensive coordinator, is he over his head or if he's not? I mean, when you go 3 and out a million times a game, it's really hard for the defense to really stop somebody. And I think that's what you kind of saw yesterday. And, I mean, that's the thing. You have to have a good offense so your defense can play better. You also have to have a good defensive line so your defense can play better. And they're not trying to chase a guy around 8 seconds before he finally just becomes open and he takes one to the house or he's tackled for a first down. So, I mean, a lot of things could factor into these. I think it's unfair to give a first-year DC that title of him being in over his head, especially when he doesn't really have guys that I guess he recruited. But at the same time, I mean, we were preaching Patrick
Toney.
Yeah, and I was ready to run him off the field as well. But I mean, at some point, you got to realize, hey, right now we just don't have the talent back there. And now I will say, in the backfield, the DBs, you do have the talent. And that's something else. That's a Corey Raymond problem because he's in charge of that part. And that's the part that really comes off the charts to me. Now, I don't blame Jason Marshall or the other DBs for a quarterback sitting back there for 7 seconds and able to throw the football. Because as I said, you got to chase the guy around. They're eventually going to get open. But when you got a 50-50 shot coming your way and you're giving up 100% of them, that's an issue. And that's the thing that I really look forward to. And I can't blame Jordan Castell. He's a young kid. And he's made plays. Like, he's made better plays than any of the other safeties we've had in the past 2 years back there, Trey Dean. And so I really, I really can't blame Austin Armstrong so far this year for what he's seen. Plus, we've played a harder schedule this year as well. Last year's schedule wasn't as bad. And you had Anthony Richardson, who could run to get you a first down. I know he wasn't the best thrower, but, I mean, the offense was getting down the field a little bit more when Anthony Richardson was there, I think, but not from a passing perspective. It was more from a rushing and running the ball perspective. And you have a good offensive line. You had Osiris Torrance, Ethan White, all those other guys. You don't have those guys right now. So Mertz, for what he's done this year, I mean, him and Spencer Rattler, both those quarterbacks, for what they've done this year with the offensive lines that they got, is pretty amazing.
I believe, look, I mean, just a few weeks ago, after week 1 and week 2, we were loving Armstrong. He was our guy. He had a top 10 defense. We were back. He was rocking and rolling. And now, obviously, this, we've had a little bit of a slide, so there's some frustration. But I'm wondering where that defense went from that spring game that I saw. It's wild how the offense looked so meek, and the defense looked so, it looked elite, it looked quick, it had twitch, it had heart, it had passion, and it's completely flipped from the summer. Now, I also believe that, look, this defensive class that we've put together thus far, I know the dotted line hasn't been signed yet. You got to credit to him for a lot of it, because Miles Graham, I believe, was the only defensive guy that was committed before Armstrong got here. And yes, yeah, we moved very quickly off of Patrick Toney. We were ready to see him go. I was not. I was I was willing to see another year. But again, the patience in this room for Florida Gators is very minimal. I think a bigger issue to look at is the surrounding staff and the surrounding company, which it could be the talent, could be coaching staff. Is he a little over his head by hiring Armstrong? Absolutely. I think I agree. I said that too. It's a new guy coming in. There's gonna be a lot of great things that he's going to bring to you, but he's also gonna have a lot of skeletons in the closet. And in the sense, not that he's got baggage, but by being a young coach, there's lack of experience that's going to creep up on you. Unfortunately, again, I think it's more of the issue that's surrounding him, which I talked about on Sunday's show. Just the coaching experience that's on this team is very minimal. And when you try to bring in another, coach that doesn't have that lacks experience, that's supposed to now lead a staff of other coaches that lack experience, excluding Coach Raymond, it's tough. So I think there's a bigger issue at hand. I'm not ready to give up on Armstrong yet. But look, I was talking with Between the Hedges this past few weeks here. If you go look at the staff that Kirby has had, defensive coordinator was Dan Lanning. Offensive line coach, Sam Pittman. Offensive coordinator, Mel Tucker. I feel like I'm on Sunday Night Football, NBC. Mel Tucker, Michigan State. You know what I mean? He's had some guys, and those guys, and how I look at that is, look, I know Mel Tucker hasn't had the most greatest success. I know neither has Pittman. Dan Lanning out here is a dog. My point to mentioning those names are the fact that they left their position and went immediately to a head coaching job. If we look at our coaches right now, ain't a single one of them are on the cusp of getting a head coaching job in college football at a Power 5 school, right? Even Patrick Toney, had to go and become an assistant in the NFL. So I think that is something that Billy needs to look at this year. Like, hey, you might have to do a complete resurface of the coaching. We keep putting all this pressure on the kids. At what point do we go, hey, I get it. The talent may not be there, but it's still a human it's still a body. And if you can't teach this kid how to hit somebody, that has, sure, some guys lack heart, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to blame it on the leadership. That's going to be where I fall on. And that's where I'm starting to hold accountability more. I think there's a bigger issue with that coaching staff. We put it on Billy, but I think it's this. You got 85 people on staff. That's what you need to take a look at, in my opinion.
Okay.
Look, the other thing to consider here is that we're what?
Hold on. Let Dave go. Let Dave go before you roll. What did you say, Dave?
Yeah, I'll let Holly go after this.
Oh, okay. Okay, go.
All those coaches you mentioned, what team did you just mention when you said go?
That was Georgia.
Okay, so what kind of talent does Georgia recruit?
Elite talent.
Elite talent. What are we recruiting right now on defense?
Elite talent.
They're not here yet. So
no, I know. It was supporting my argument that I think Armstrong could eventually be one of those guys. That's why I don't think we should be too quickly to judge. I just think it's the surrounding staff that's not helping him. I was supporting that. Like, I agree. Like, I think we have a guy that can be one of those guys in Armstrong, but I don't believe that we have it anywhere else. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Rob Sale's not going to go get a head coaching job next year. That guy might not even be a damn near offensive line. You know what I mean? That's my point here. Right,
having talent makes your coaching job a lot easier, and that's something we don't have. So, I like I said, small improvements I see from what I've read off, and that's all you can really ask for until we get the talent here. But you can go ahead, Hawk.
Well, look, just kind of to the point. I don't think that Armstrong is in over his head. Based on the defense that I saw in your spring game, that defense was unleashed, and they were blitzing, they were aggressive. They were coming from different angles in order to try to get to the quarterback, which, look, if your defensive line as of right now isn't good enough on its own to create pressure, that's kind of the defense that you need to be running. You need to find creative ways to get something in front of the quarterback's face to force that ball out of the pocket, force that ball out of his hand, to keep your DBs from being exposed for 8 seconds. And it looked like, from what I saw in the spring game, that was Austin Armstrong's defensive philosophy, was just an utter, figure out where it's coming from because it's going to come every play. That's what I thought that this was going to look like when you guys got out onto the field for the season. And it almost feels like that has been reined in a little bit, or potentially he doesn't believe that the personnel really plays to that for a season, for a full season, for the personnel you have now. I don't know. It looked like that defense was going to play with a level of reckless abandon, and you were going to see blitzes, schemes, stunts, all these different things. And it just has not been that way on the actual playing field. And I wonder if that's more Billy trying to rein things in with him, or if that's just that the personnel is not there for him to really run that defense on a consistent basis. I wouldn't say give up on the guy. I don't think that's the case at all. I think that we're not seeing what we saw in the spring game. And there's a difference between the philosophy that we got a glimpse of versus what we saw versus, say, Georgia, or even for that matter, South Carolina. Again, I
Sure.
just haven't seen that same level of just edge and push and quick twitch that we thought we would see.
Yeah, look, I think consensus is again. I think we're on the same page that he isn't over his head, and there's multitude of factors of the reason for a little bit of the decline on defense. I think look, I think I've seen the noise on Twitter a little bit that they're tired of hearing the quality of player and its excuses. That's where I think it frustrates me. Is like, look, our job is to talk about it and try to figure out what the hell's going on, because it's either it's the coaching, it's this or that, but numbers, we use these numbers to try to justify, as much as we can. When Armstrong came in and he had the nasty bunch at Southern Miss, we utilized those numbers to our defense. For the first 3 weeks of the season, we had a top 10 defense, right? Those numbers supported the argument that he wasn't, on the verge to being an elite defensive coordinator. Now that's trended the wrong direction over the last few weeks, and we're a little on the other to look the other way. So what is it? I don't know. We're trying to figure it out. Q keeps saying that Corey Raymond's in over his head, having the whole secondary, and I'm wondering that too, because obviously Patrick Toney had everything, and they passed it over to Corey Raymond. We rejoiced when we heard that noise, but maybe he wasn't ready for that either, right? You've got a lot of moving pieces this year that happen. You get a new DC, you get Ethan Callaway, new tight end coach. You got Billy Gonzalez, new wide receiver coach. You've got Corey Raymond that has his role steps up. Again, this is not me making excuses, but it's starting to realize like there's a lot of moving pieces moving parts that happened at the beginning of the year. A lot of guys taking on new responsibilities when the guys we had in their places in the first place weren't dominating their responsibilities, and i.e. being Billy.
Yeah, but Corey Raymond's been a DB coach for a long time. He should know what he's doing. Like,
I agree.
I can't give Corey Raymond an excuse. There's no excuse for him. Now, maybe some of the other coaches, possibly. I know that the wide receiver coach Billy Gonzalez, he's been doing it for a long time too. But
Wide receivers have been great. I'm just saying, like it's not like I'm trying to find like, hey, Corey, but you've got everyone kind of took on a new role, which something may have got left behind because there's new people there that was being picked up before. That's all that I'm saying. Like Billy Gonzalez may be doing a great job, but maybe the old wide receiver coach is doing something else for the tight end. I don't know. I'm guessing here, right? I'm just kind of I'm spitballing here.
I will go back to what Holly said, though. He's right about playing with aggression, because earlier on in the show, I said, knock the hell out of somebody. We haven't seen that. Like you said, exotic blitzes. We haven't really seen much of that either. So I will give him credit on that. And as I said, knock the hell out of somebody. Okay, I'm good.
Love it. For that passion there from Dave and Steve. Let's make sure we drop a like and show some love, subscribe. Happy to have all of you here on this beautiful Monday afternoon, or Wednesday. Jeez, my knees. I'm all over the place. I'm worse than the defense right now. Let's talk about Gators versus Arkansas. Let's head to by the numbers with Mr. David Soderquist. This scares me. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I was thinking I was going to put this together, and we were going to just mop the floor with them, given the fact they've only won 2 games. Now, like you mentioned before, I mean, a lot of those games were by a touchdown, so it wasn't like it was just some complete ass whooping. It was a dogfight for a lot of these games. Sam Pittman's job is, I would say, on the line for this game. Nowhere near. Maybe after the game, Billy can have a conversation with him and say, "Hey, you want to come be my offensive line coach?" Just throwing that out there. You got an opportunity, you got a little one-on-one time with old Pittman, beat his ass, and then offer him a job. I don't know. That's my thoughts. So by the numbers, if you guys are new here, what we do is we use the PFF top 100 players, and we see how we, measure up against him in each position. So quarterback, we have one. They don't have one in KJ Jefferson, which seems, is a very surprising. A lot of people had him not as a front runner, but I would say top 10 Heisman candidate, like a possibility that he could really have a breakout season. Has not had that at all. Running backs, ETN dropped out. We don't have one up there anymore. Or was he? No, I think he is up there. I must have forgot him. Or did he drop out?
Who?
Trevor Etienne. There's no way he dropped out of. No, I think he did. I think he was like 112.
There's no way he could have dropped out. His numbers are too good.
I may have slipped up. I think we do have one running back. I apologize. For linemen, though, this is where I was shocked. They got some dogs on the line. Couple centers, couple inside offensive linemen, couple edge rushers, couple defensive linemen. So they hold the edge there 5-4 on linemen. I do it on both sides of the ball there. And then wide receiver tight end, it's 2-2. They have 2 tight ends that are in the top 100. No wide receivers, but 2 tight ends. And think about what we just talked about with Shamar James being out, right? And who's going to eat? It's going to be the tight ends. And that's what they do. That's who needs to cover them. It's going to be your tight end. So that could be a recipe for disaster for us this weekend. And the DB, safeties, and linebackers, zeros. And we've had some guys up there and they have slid out of the top 100. So according to those numbers, much closer than it should be. I do have a little fun fact here from our boy Between the Hedges. Says Arkansas this year is 0-5 in the SEC the last 2 years. So Caitlin walk into the swamp on our blackout game at noon and kick our ass. I couldn't agree more. We need to go in there and handle business. We've played very well at home. I would say that's the one advantage, right? With all the negative that's going on. Shamar James is out, a couple defensive linemen questionable. Just the struggles we had last week, the question marks on defense. The one pro we have going into this game is the fact that it is at home. We're not going on the road, right? So it's like we're on the road. Our defense is struggling. We're losing this player, right? At least we have one thing that's in our favor. It's at home. Now it is at noon, so we couldn't get a night game at home, but it is at home. What do you got for us, Dave? What numbers do you have to break down for us?
Well, I'll start with KJ Jefferson, man. And this is actually a funny stat that I looked up because we were just talking about how Graham Mertz has been sacked like all year. He's been pressured. I mean, when KJ Jefferson drops back, his drop back pressures, how many times he's dropped back? Let's see, 220 times he's dropped back. 96 times he's been pressured in those 220. So almost 50%, probably around the 40% range. The dude has been sacked 32 times. He's been sacked more than Graham Mertz. So their offensive line, and I said this before the show. You heard me before the pre-show. I said their offensive line's not that great. With those defensive linemen out, yeah, that does suck, and that may prove to be a factor in the game. But I don't know if it's going to be a huge factor or not. We'll just have to see what their game plan looks like, especially with their OC.
Real quick, what concerns me, though, is our D-line hasn't been able to get pressure on literally anybody. So
correct.
So you keep telling me these old lines aren't that great. I think we talked about that with Charlotte. I think we talked about it with Vandy, and we still don't get pressure. So I would love to be like, yeah, you're right, Dave. But I'm gonna pull out my polo here. Okay, I'm gonna find a little inner Dave here and get a little spicy with you because I can't trust the numbers anymore. The numbers are lying to us.
Yeah, I mean the only legitimate person on our defensive line that's been able to get pressure is Princely Uman-Milan. He's still been out of his mind getting pressures. I would like to see him get more sacks, but I said this on the radio show. I said, as long as you're able to rock the quarterback or make the quarterback think you're coming from his blind side, I'm okay with not getting the sack as long as it screws the play up and it's third down or fourth down and they have to punt the ball. But I mean, when you look at it around, even their receivers, they only have one receiver that's caught for 520 yards this year. It's Andrew Armstrong. He's their leading receiver. Underneath him, you got their tight end, like you said, Luke Hask. I hope I said that right. He's only got 253 yards. Their other tight end only has 133 yards for the season. They haven't really been playing good offense, but the thing is like they've been playing up to their opponent. And when they play up to their opponent, they always lose the game by like 7-3, just something ridiculous. So their defense, as far as points per game, has been pretty good in like keeping teams away from scoring for the most part this year. But as far as like just every other like statistical category, I mean, they miss more tackles than we do. They miss 72. I think Florida, like, I don't see an offensive weapon really on like anywhere that I'm clicking on these stats that's really like jumps out to me. But their offensive line is pretty good. Their bread and butter is running the football anyway. They just haven't been really that good this year, and they weren't good last year. Like you said, they were 0-5. I just hope we're not the ones to break the streak, Shelton, because we break a lot of streaks, good and bad. That streak. But yeah, I mean, I think Florida, I mean, like going into this game, Florida is still with the guys out should, and the key word is should, because I'm not saying they're going to do it, but the key word is should still win this football game. And I'm hoping they would win it easier since it's at home and you've got the crowd, and I think it's sold out too, by the way. So there's gonna be a lot of sweaty people because they're gonna be wearing black. It's gonna be almost.
Look, it might be. It's kind of cool out. It might be a nice little breezy Saturday afternoon. I wouldn't get too worked up about it. But look, I think
stand out in that sun long enough wearing black, it's gonna get hot.
Negative Dave is full effect, boys. I don't know how to deal with this man right now. Look, this is a must win. I mean, plain and simple. They have to go out there and dominate. I would love to see what I saw at that orange and blue game. The speed coming off the edge, the passion, the twitch. Just play angry. If anything, just play pissed off out of your mind. I don't need you to do anything technical. I don't need you to do anything, special, or I don't care about how fancy your move is or breaking. Just like we've been talking about, just fucking hit somebody, punch somebody in the mouth. I need to see some anger. I need to see some frustration. You're playing for something bigger than yourself. Understand what the jersey represents for this particular game, wearing that black jersey, and understanding how grateful we are to be able to hang out on a Saturday and play football and watch a football game. Like if I'm walking in, if I'm Billy, that's the speech. We got an opportunity here to clinch a bowl game. We've got an opportunity here. We've got one. This is the second to last game at home. We got 2 more of these to represent in front of the home crowd. And most importantly, again, that black jersey means something more than just what it normally means. So go out there, punch somebody in the mouth, leave it all out there on the football field. Let's love one another. Let's go kick some ass. And just, if we need to, just go put those Twitter trolls' faces on some of those pictures, on some of those bodies if you need to. I mean, they responded to them all week. I like Florida here, 24-10, my prediction.
Well, I'm going to say knock the hell out of somebody is going to probably be the motto for this show. But all the things you just said, I want to see the rest of the year, not in just this game.
Agreed.
Because, like you
but
said,
it needs to start. It needs to start.
You're not playing for much anymore except for bowl eligibility. Win one game, get bowl eligible, and then just play your hearts out, man. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose these next 3 games anyway. You're not really going anywhere. But beat your damn rival, Florida State. I know Holly doesn't want that to happen, but
that'd be sweet too. Steve, what are your thoughts, bud?
Look, I mean, Arkansas has the 121st ranked offense in all of NCAA. They rush for 109 yards on average. They throw for less than 2. If there's a game that your defense could get a little bit of confidence, come out there, redeem themselves, do it in front of the home crowd, this has got to be it. I know that Arkansas has played some teams close. I understand that they had a shot at LSU. I understand they had a shot at Alabama, but they lost every damn one of them. They don't have a good offense. If your defense needs a pick-me-up game, if it needs a pat on the back game, this is where you come out and just knock somebody's dick in the dirt. You're doing it in front of your home crowd. You're doing it with a blackout game, so everybody should be hyped up. This should be against this offense where you come out and really get your defense fired up. Let them go, play loose. You don't have to worry about this team beating you on offense. You should be able to control that and just really have them go out there, redeem themselves, and be able to play a little bit more loose than they have the last couple of games.
You can't lose to a team that just fired their offensive coordinator and more than likely will end up firing the head coach at the end of the year. You just can't do that. And we're about to roll into it. It's going to be another big recruiting weekend, the second to last big weekend of recruits. This recruiting cycle, or this class, is going to be some of the big guys that we're trying to close in on for 2024, but also for 2025 and 2026. So it's going to be a really exciting game. I think the biggest key here is you can't lose to a guy that's about to lose his job. That's at home where you've been great. And
he's about to lose his job and lost his offensive coordinator.
What sucks, look, you guys, I've preached this all year, right? I'm never going to not pick Florida. I'm going to walk into it saying, hey, we're going to kick your ass every single week. In a weird way, I feel more confident about the FSU game than I do about Arkansas. Straight up. I feel like that game has more energy. Like it's going to be the last one of the year. This is one of those games. It's like that Vandy. It's the same time of the year where you just kind of get caught on your back foot a little bit. I don't think that's the case. I think this team, the one pro of this team is I felt that they've stayed, believing in one another. It felt like towards the end of the year, the team last year started, you could just see they weren't clicking. Even though we've looked, a little atrocious at times, the team still feels as a unit. They're losing together. I guess is one way of looking at it. But yeah, I got a little bit of a tummy ache right now, but I think part of it is I'm just my nerves, man. I feel good. I'm excited to go play this game, but it's just you got a guy on the other side of the line that's fighting for his life. Right? And that's a scary place to be. You're going up against Sam Pittman, who is literally fighting for his life. And what do you always say, Steve? It's like the starving cats in the alley. They get a little rambunctious. That's not a good place to be.
Yeah. Honey Badger don't give a shit.
Yeah, Honey Badger don't care. So look, I think we should be able to kick ass and take names, but it's just, I don't know, it's one of those weird feelings. I just feel kind of like, I don't know, boys. Go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of Florida State, I looked up Jordan Travis' sack numbers. He's only been sacked 9 times. Is he wearing Crisco oil out there, dude? Like,
Every
nobody
week,
can.
baby. He's got it. We actually hired somebody. We put him on the coaching staff. He's taking up a coaching spot. He's we call him Crisco. We
Yeah,
every game pregame we lather. His job is strictly to do one thing, and that's just lather Travis up in Crisco. Slippery little bastard. I'll give you that.
jeez, man.
He
I mean,
plays for Michigan. He coaches for Michigan too. Same guy.
him and Stetson Bennett have to be the
We'll
like
get to
most
that.
possible quarterbacks to sack.
Like an Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers, it always feels like that guy's a statue and he can't run, but he always just makes that little ballerina sidestep when it looks like there's a linebacker at full steam who's just about to take his head off, right? And he just makes that little ballerina, like that little 1-2, still gets the ball off. Like it's just crazy because Aaron Rodgers isn't the guy that's going to pull the ball down and make some elaborate play with his legs. He just always finds a way to dance in the pocket and get the ball out. It's uncanny. It's the same with Brady. Brady was amazing at getting the ball out of his hands, staying in the pocket and avoiding, there's just a relentless blitz. And somehow that ball would come out and just be right on target.
Yeah, I think Mike Norvell is the greatest coach you've ever seen. I don't think Saban holds a candle to his jockstrap.
No, not at all.
It's that cha-cha slide. They practice the cha-cha slide and then get out of their sacks.
So let's talk about the recruiting weekend just a little bit here because it is going to be a big one for Florida Gators. Dave, you got the list of recruits that are going to be there. Saw a little special name, Jeremiah Smith. Dave just said he's flirting with everybody. He's not excited about it all. TJ Moore, that name's being tossed around a little bit. That was somebody that Florida was in for quite some time. He ended up committing to Clemson. That is a 4-star wide receiver. He goes to school with Jameer Grimsley. They've been heavily recruiting after him. They're trying to get him to come visit. Obviously, the energy in Clemson right now it's worse than Florida. If you want to believe that, it's kind of in shambles to an extent. So Dabo's over here popping off on radio stations, which I loved, by the way. I thought it was fantastic. I don't mind those things. That's my personality. I know some people have their opinion about it. You're gonna ask a dumb question, you're gonna get a dumb response. That's kind of how I look at it. But I think this could be another big weekend where we close strong. I've been talking about that for the last few months. That we're in a great position for recruiting. And I also took a quick little gander into 2025 for guys that were leading the way on, for guys that are leaning Florida right now. You can go on to On3 and these guys and see they're not quite Quister balls, but they have a percentage that hasn't favored towards Florida. And Florida is in the lead for a lot of top 100 players, which is fantastic. So all that's going on, all the noise that we're hearing, all the negativity that fans are pumping out and that we're frustrated to see, they're either the recruits are just not watching the games, or again, this is something that we've also said that look, they told us this was going to happen. The narrative is on par with what we've been told, and we're okay with that because we're going to come in and we're going to be the ones that make a difference. So with that, let's see who's going to be there. I know they're the 3-star Arkansas running back who we offered a few months ago, and we're going to push heavily. I would be shocked if we don't close this class without a running back, and I feel like he might be leading the way quietly.
Yeah, that's 3-star running back Jaden Ball, Arkansas commit, which is funny because he's going to the Arkansas-Florida game. Or should I just say, well, actually, no, I probably need to say Arkansas-Florida because I said Florida-Georgia last week and we lost. So anyway, but he's going to the game. 3-star running back Cannon Dales, who's a Gators commit. As you said, Jeremiah Smith, the guy that keeps visiting us in Florida State, and I just don't think anything's going to happen there. 3-star wide receiver Isaiah Williams, 4-star tight end Amir Jackson, Gators commit. Fletcher Westfall, LJ McCray, Amaris Williams, Kendall Jackson, all committed to the Gators. We all know this. Miles Graham, Darius Hayes, Michael Boro, who the kid that
D lineman.
Yep, and now he's coming back to the game. You got Xavier Mincy, a guy that's going to commit here towards in January, so he's going to wait for a little bit. You got Jordan Pride, a top 150 A&M commit. He said he's supposed to visit. We'll see. Cornerback Jameer Grimsley, obviously one of those guys that's been talked about heavily that committed to Alabama over Florida. Some maybe flip talk there, here and there going around, but we'll see what happens with that. Teddy Foster, the Gators commit, he'll be there too. You got 2025 offensive tackle Tavares Dice, he will be there. Linebacker Kaylon Moses, safety Hilton Stubbs, 2025. These are all 2025 kids. And the 2026 4-star athlete Rodney Colton Jr., cornerback Chris McCorkle, and safety Devin Jackson, all visiting 2026. And then you got an official visitor, offensive tackle Favor Edwin as well. So that is the list so far, and I will credit Blake Alderman from 24/7 from giving me that list. And it could, like as I said, you never know who's going to be added, who's not. The TJ Moore rumors going around too. If he does visit, it will be official. It'll be on his dime. So if he does visit on his dime, that's a good sign that maybe some wheels are turning there. So
And he's
we'll
from
see.
Tampa, so it's a little bit of a trek. It's not crazy, but it's definitely a little bit of a trek. And look, I think this is going to be the first time LG McCray will be with the group after committing. So that's something that I've preached about a lot, of having these guys constantly together and building, that team morale and feeling good about the class being a lock because they're constantly together. And that Michael Bohr defensive lineman, that feels like that's going to come back to our direction because he decommitted. I think he wanted to shop around, and I feel like the Florida guys wanted to keep those guys locked in pretty close. And he's been visiting the last few weeks now, so it seems like we're trending back to landing him. But I don't know, for him to kind of just keep lingering around, it's almost like he's a commit, but he's keeping the door open maybe for the last minute. So hopefully, look, I'm thinking we could possibly land somebody this weekend. That's a feeling. I haven't heard anything. This is just literally me just kind of feeling how Billy's been. I think it'd be a big weekend to land somebody on. If you've got somebody that's kind of been on the, how are we feeling? Are we looking good? Maybe a possible flip this weekend, and then the FSU weekend would be probably the 2 weekends I would say Billy would like to close them, because then at that point, FSU, you've got 2-3 weeks until that national signing day. Now, obviously, Mincy's going to wait until January, so we'll see how that plays out. But we will see. I think McCray is coming in December. I think, again, most of the class will be signing early and enrolling early. That was something that I saw just the other day. I want to say 90% or plus of this class will be signing early. So December 20th, 1st, 2nd can't come fast enough to make sure we can get this shit locked in, because I'm sick of people saying, "Oh, flip's coming." Let's get to the 22nd, boys. Hurry this damn season up. Speaking of, the season's got 4 games left, boys. Let's appreciate it.
I don't know how many times I've heard from opposing fans that DJ Lagway was going to flip. It's still comedy to me.
He's going to Clemson. Yeah, that is confirmed.
Yeah. Clemson. Yep.
Him and Dabo. Boys and girls, couple more topics here. We've got Michigan, then we've got the pick'ems, and then of course tweets of the week. So don't go anywhere. Smash the like button. We got to get to 100 likes. I figured it'd be a little bit of a slow night. People aren't too excited to watch about Gator football right now, but I appreciate everyone who's tuned in and hung out with. Yeah, that's all right. Look, we got the ride or dies, and those are the ones we love anyway. So Michigan is on fire, literally on fire, and McElwain's on fire too with Central Michigan, because there's been some sign stealing guy apparently has been caught, seen, exposed to be on the sideline at Central Michigan. This thing's wild. It's wild to me because, look, I was on the fence of like, who cares? And now it's at a point where it's like, all right, there's some shit here. Like, it's sticky. And so my question to you guys before the show was like, does this thing get drug out for this entire season and we roll into the offseason without an answer? Because, right, if my thing is, it feels like there's a pretty good penny of it that's true. But the fact that you had your sign stealer guy on the sideline of Central Michigan wearing Central Michigan gear with apparently recording sunglasses that can record what's happening in front of them. So many questions, first of all. And then Jim McElwain comes out and basically goes, we had no idea. If it's that easy to sneak onto the sidelines with the gear, with a hat, with a coaching t-shirt, Billy, I'll see you on Saturday, okay? I'm going to be there. The vlog's going to be lit, boys, so be sure you tune in, because I'm not stealing any signs. I'm just going to get content, because it's going to be sick, because apparently it's just, you can just walk right onto the sideline there. What's going on here, Steve?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us.
Look, I mean, yeah, to your point, I mean, look, the guy was on the sidelines. He had the same coaching, same shirt on as the coaches, right? So he was able to at least understand what they were going to be wearing for him to kind of just integrate himself in. Like, you didn't just walk into Walmart, pick that up off the rack, and lo and behold, hey, what a coincidence. I just happen to have the same damn shirt as the entire coaching staff, right? So that tells me that there's something else there. Like, the guy got this somehow, some way, right? The other piece of it is, look, it might not be the same guy. I mean, he just looks like this average person.
True.
Right? I mean, he has got sunglasses on. He's got a build hat that he was very, very conveniently using every time a player went out of bounds near him, because he knew the camera would be on him. So he was ducking behind the hat, maybe looking at the crowd. He was very, very careful not to get his face on television. But what I find interesting is, if it wasn't the Stallions guy from Michigan and it was somebody else, wouldn't that guy by now have been like, no, that wasn't him. That was me. That's me. And then you would put them side by side, right? We'd look at Stallions. We'd look at the guy and said, no, it's me. And we would look at him and be like, oh, I could see how we would confuse those two people. They look kind of similar. They've got some similar characteristics. Who's come forward and said, no, you guys have it all wrong? Nobody. You know why? Because it's him. Because it's that guy. It's the guy from Michigan.
I think here's what's weird, right? Because obviously the NCAA is corrupt, and this is. I feel like we find ourselves in conspiracy theories all the time, whether it's on 3 and Shannon Terry, whatever. But I feel like what's saving Michigan right now is the amount of schools that may be involved with the sign stealing. South Carolina's been tossed around. Now Central Michigan can be involved. Tennessee, I heard, has been kind of tossed around a little bit because the whole idea was to manipulate who's going to be in the college football playoff. And I feel like the NCAA goes, oh shit, we're going to take down the entire organization with this find, right? It's like we just wanted to get Al Capone, but we're taking down the whole mafia. And if we don't have the mafia, like what are we doing here, right? Like that's what it feels like.
They don't want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes. They don't want to. I don't think they really
That's what I'm saying.
Because look, Michigan knows that they're probably going to have Georgia in the playoff. So why wouldn't you try to bring South Carolina and Tennessee into the fold and maybe pull another move and see if you can get to the sidelines on a Georgia game? Why not?
I don't know.
This is wild. And
Yeah,
the NCAA's non-response makes me feel like that's going to be their response. I feel like they're just going to try to bury their head in the sand and hope this goes away. Yeah. I'd be surprised if the Big Ten doesn't do something, like from a conference standpoint, step in and do something before the NCAA.
I feel like Twitter has done a better job investigating this than actual NCAA, because that's where all this is coming from. Twitter has taken their technology and has done the facial scan, and that's how they confirmed that it was Stallions on the sideline at Central Michigan. They also confirmed that the sunglasses on, like they'll find anything out. Like, oh, be careful. They'll find. Hey, Steve, they'll probably find your 3 kids that you got lying around somewhere if you don't get if you don't. Yeah. I'm just be careful. But what are your thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny, like, when I watched the Jim McElwain video earlier today, I mean, it brought back memories, first of all, Mr. PB&J, but also he's like Mr. Sign Stealer guy. That was, like, the funniest thing I heard this morning. But, yeah, I mean, like, I'm like, how stupid can you be? Like, like, if you've got footage of, like, every game and you've got guys spying or whatever, and you're getting away with it, like a PI or something, like, why do you have like a whole cloud drive that multiple people can access that has all that stuff on it? Like, you would think you would leave the drive to where it's not in a cloud form, and the one person or whoever needs to access it can. It's less traceable then. Like, they just completely left themselves open to be found out by a whole bunch of people. And finally, once one clue led to the other, now all this other stuff is coming out. And it's funny that Josh Pate literally has like skinned down to the science of each video and each picture to see where these guys got these Ray-Bans that have these cameras in them and all that. It's just really funny. Like, it's hilarious, like, when you think about it. And like, are they gonna even do anything to Michigan? And that's the funny part. It's like, you have to do something at this point. Like, I mean, you already yanked an extension from Jim Harbaugh. I mean, like, I'm assuming he would get fired at this point if you're gonna yank an extension from him. But like, this can't go to the wayside. Like, you have to do something. And I think it's going to be a lot worse for Michigan fans, like, coming down the stretch. Like, I've seen a lot of Michigan fans in the spaces saying, oh, it's not a big deal. Nothing's going to happen. Well, of course, because you cheer for Michigan. You hope nothing happens. But guess what? You're probably screwed. So just leave it as it is and take the lump on the head and probably wait 3 years before you're bowl eligible again.
Dave spiced up. Levi, thank you, man. Make sure you guys hit the like button, show some love. Harbaugh leaving Michigan and going to San Francisco. I think San Francisco's in a good place with their head coach.
I don't think San Francisco is really going to be open with open arms again. Isn't that where he left? Didn't he leave San Francisco to go to Michigan?
He did. And Muddy says all this is giving me 2007 Bill Belichick Spygate flashbacks. And what did I say before the show? Because I said it's just going to roll into the playoffs where they're going to be able to play. And I go, look, you're like, Steve was saying, well, if they beat anybody, they're going to be like, oh, well, they're cheating. I'm like, no, it's going to be the complete opposite, because now everybody knows, so they can't cheat. You're going to change your signs. You're going to do everything you can to beat Michigan. They're going to become the bad guy, the villain, right? It creates a story. And honestly, I kind of want to see them go all the way now and win this bitch and just say, F you. We got it done, and you couldn't stop us. You couldn't catch us. Now, I think it would be hilarious. And you guys were trying to say if they were in it, you would boycott it. No, everybody would tune in to see if they could defend it or you get taken down. So
Well, it's weird because it makes you think, like, what are other schools doing to cheat? Like, if this is just one thing we found out, like, what are other schools doing?
Right? I definitely think Kirby was involved with this too. I think he bought plenty of signs from Michigan, so they definitely need to investigate that because I mean it's the only thing that makes sense. What was the other thing? Oh, so Harbaugh says he's going to take that Raiders job. I was about time Josh McDaniels got fired. I was like, this guy has sucked for so long, and I was literally last night. This was not a shower thought. It may have been a shower thought. I don't recall. I was like, how does this cat still have a job? You have Josh Jacobs, Jimmy Garoppolo, who has he's a proven winner in my opinion. Devontae Adams, Max Crosby. Like, it's not like you ain't got studs on that football team to where you can't be somewhat relevant. And they've just been dog shit. And I was like, yeah, cat's got to go. So they clearly watched it. They clearly hang out with me in the shower. So
look, the one thing I will say is if Kirby's sealing signs as well, I think this is the difference between Kirby and Harbaugh. Harbaugh's dumb enough to upload it into a cloud so that anybody could have access to it and potentially get his ass caught. Whereas Kirby would have that shit on like a 1984 thumb drive. You know, one of those little things that you got to pop into the side of the laptop in order to even be able to access it. But it'd also be in like a safe under the house, under the basement, under the bed in a basement. It'd be like 17 layers deep in Georgia clay before you could find that thing. Whereas Harbaugh is just out there just flopping it around for anybody to see.
I wish Billy would buy some signs as well. Let's talk about the college football playoffs that was released yesterday, I believe, on Tuesday. The only thing that I disagree with, honestly, is Georgia not being number one. The rest of it kind of is what it is. I think, it doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I had Michigan in our Sunday show. I had Michigan at number one. So I just don't feel that Ohio State should be number one. That's not me being a hater. I just don't feel like they've looked like the number one team in the country. So you could argue Georgia or Michigan, to be honest with you. Ohio State makes zero sense at all. Florida State, I have in my top five. I have Washington ahead of them, and I truly still believe Washington should still be ahead of Florida State. They've had better wins. I know you guys got that big win against LSU, but Washington taking down Oregon, who I still think Oregon is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm telling you, I think they slipped up. They made some errors in that Washington game. They should have won that game. They're going to find themselves in the Pac-12 championship. Unfortunately, some things need to happen in front of them for them to be okay. Because right now, look, they're in sixth. They beat Washington. They go to 5, right? And Florida State looks like they have a pretty clean path. But Michigan and Ohio State have to play each other. So, and whoever wins that game won't have a conference championship. What's also interesting, too, is Texas and Oklahoma, both one-loss teams. Alabama, if Alabama somehow takes down Georgia in the SEC championship, this thing is going to get interesting. I literally think from 10 down, complete waste. None of them have a chance. It's just for big-time bowl games. 9 and up is your legitimate final. I guess Ole Miss, they only have one loss, don't they?
One, yep.
So yep. Ole Miss, but let's be honest. They would need Alabama to lose for them to have a chance to play in the SEC championship, and then Georgia would just spin them over like I did Steve's mom last night. Anyways, so it doesn't matter. So 9 through 1 are your legitimate contenders. That's what you guys need to focus on.
They have to play Georgia in the regular season anyway, so they're not going to make it to the playoff having to go through Georgia before the end of the year. So we'll find out whether or not Georgia will bend them over in about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's how it's going to be. I think that's that you're 9 through 1. If you're trying to get a gauge of who's going to be in the Final Four, I think that's what's going to be. I think Oregon's going to be. I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to win the Pac-12 championship without a shadow of a doubt. Ohio State, Michigan, they're going to beat each other, and at that point, it opens up a spot for them. Now, what the Final Four is going to work itself out to be, I don't know. It could be, a perfect Final Four, in my opinion. That's not going to work. Yeah, perfect Final Four, in my opinion. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Oregon. That's the perfect Final Four. Florida State obviously is going to have to lose somewhere, clearly. And I think they're going to lose in November, and then they're going to lose again in December to Louisville. But I digress. What are your thoughts, Steve, on the Final Four, or I guess playoff rankings?
Well, I don't like the Ohio State over Georgia. Everything else I could care less.
Sure.
Look, at this point, Georgia's going into this season with questions on whether or not they can three-peat, and they have a winning streak that is going to start to rub up against some of the all-time best winning streaks in the history of the sport. So at this point, to me, it would seem as if Georgia should be number one until somebody can beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just organically where I think, right? You're talking about a team winning 3 national championships in a row that hasn't lost a game in, years. So I wouldn't put anybody above that team until somebody can beat that team. And I don't care who that team is, whether it was Bama in their run, Clemson in their run, Georgia in their run right now. I don't put anybody over the team that's facing that's going up against potentially a third in a row.
Sure.
How do you do that? But no, the third and four are interchangeable to me. I know that Washington obviously has that big win over Oregon, but they still only have one.
To be fair,
top 25 win.
Washington struggled against Arizona State,
Stanford and Arizona State.
Yep, and I think that honestly hurt their value a little bit. So I'm not a big hater on it. Look, I'm being a hater on FSU. So I think if I wasn't being non-biased, I would say, look, Washington hasn't looked like a top 5 team the past few weeks. Dave?
I think you should put Washington and Oregon and Florida State in Georgia's place, and then we call it a playoff. That's my idea. Oh no, but yeah, I mean, Georgia, you obviously got to put number 1. I always told everybody it doesn't matter what number you really are, as long as you make it up there anyway. If you're 1 through 4, that's cool. But what's funny is I think all these teams are undefeated except for Oregon, Texas, Alabama. They all got 1 loss, correct? So does
your top 5 teams are undefeated. Well, Air Force is undefeated, and so is
James Madison.
Madison, but they're not in the top 25, so
they're not.
No.
If one of these teams
in the playoff, that's right. Yeah, because never mind. I'm dumb.
Yeah, if one of these teams loses, Washington's going to be up there already. So I don't know who it's going to be. It might be Michigan since they got caught stealing signals and probably lose the next game. I don't know. But I don't have any problem with it. Like you said, I would assume Georgia would be number 1 over Ohio State, but it doesn't really matter. Florida State, nobody's been able to beat them. They've been tested. Nobody's been able to beat them. Georgia's been tested. Nobody's been able to beat them. Ohio State's been tested. I mean, the only team that hasn't been tested are the sign stealers, and that's probably why. But other than that, I mean, I'm
what could be wild here is if Mizzou takes down Georgia this weekend.
Yeah, where do they go?
Whew. I mean, and Mizzou has some big wins. Outside of the loss to LSU, they've looked. I mean, they look pretty solid. So that's gonna. I don't think it happens, but it could be interesting.
What about if Missouri beats Georgia and then goes undefeated the rest of their schedule and then wins the SEC championship?
Oh, they're in. They're in. Yeah, there's no doubt they're not in. So, boys and girls, let's move on to the MyBookie segment of the show. We do our pick'ems real quick. So I suck. I don't know what else to say anymore. I'm down bad. I'm down bad, dude. I think I was 2 for 5 last week. Dave was 5 for 2. Steve was 4 for 3. I can't catch a break, dude. I was pumped because I won the Kansas game, and obviously one more game. But I missed Utah. I missed Florida. I can't find my head from my ass on this one, boys.
So mad about that Kansas game because I almost picked them too, and I was like, fuck. But oh well.
Yeah.
I'll take that L happily. Nothing made me happier than watching Oklahoma lose. That was great.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. But let's move into the picks here. So week 10, let's go get it. Florida's favored by 6 against the Razorbacks. I'm gonna go ahead and get it out of the way. You know where I'm going? Staying with the boys.
Arkansas has been playing a lot of teams close lately. I'll still pick Florida though.
That's my boy. CV?
Just to keep it spicy, I'll go Arkansas to stay within 6.
Yeah. Real quick here. Thank you for love, Garrett Berg says High Top Sports, the best podcast throughout, and I stand on that. Much love, y'all boys. I see y'all kind of giving this guy some shit because he's whining because I didn't say hi to him for 20 minutes.
So
sorry, dude.
Dude,
we're I'm trying to I get it. We like to say hi to the comments, but also too I try not to get too distracted. I want to make sure I don't stutter, so I try not to read it too much because it's easy to get caught up into it. But they gave him shit, which look, I think you're gonna be a whiny bee about it, then you're gonna get shit about it. So it is what it is. I appreciate you boys backing us up though, because we're usually talking with the chat. So
yeah, what the hell's going on in there? We take our eye off y'all for one week.
Yeah.
I thought when they were saying Dur, I thought they were like abbreviating my last name, and then now there's a Dur in here.
No, you're not that cool. All right, I forgot to change the name here, but it's UCF. It's Ole Miss. It's favored by 3 against Texas A&M. That's a close one there. Dave, I'm gonna pass it to you first, big guy.
UCF or Ole Miss? Which one is it? Just kidding. I will go with I don't know. I don't know if I can trust Lane Whiffen, but I'll pick him anyway. I'll go with Ole Miss.
Stevie?
Yeah, we were talking in the precast about this. Ole Miss is at home. This game is in Mississippi, and they're only favored by 3. I'm going to take Mississippi all day on that. The Fighting Jimbos just look. You just never know when they're going to look like absolute trash.
Yeah, they're inconsistent. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ole Miss is going to get it done for sure. I think Texas A&M's look good, but I think Ole Miss looks good.
Miss has something to play for.
Here, real quick, Dave, you're getting roasted by Patrick Baines here. He's a little early on in the show. Let's read the comments. Let's go back to the comment section. It says this dude in the middle needs to get off the air if he thinks he can call the game better than our coaches. He is so much the problem at Florida. Back your team and talk crap about your enemies.
Eh?
About your rant earlier about how you could call the plays better, he wasn't very happy about that take.
I said I could have called the plays better Saturday.
I know that's what he's saying. He doesn't believe he could.
That's what he's saying.
Bama or LSU? Bama's favored by 3. Dave or Steve?
Ooh, it's games at Bama.
I think so.
Gosh,
yeah.
LSU's defense is just such trash. 3 points. I'm going to take Bama. That's not my logo.
Oh, you're not the cargo. Sorry.
It's the one that looks like me.
Okay. Well, close.
All right.
Dave?
God, that's tough too because LSU's offense is so good, and like Alabama, like they've gotten a little bit better as the years went on, but they still have like I don't know. Oh God, this is a tough one.
That's a tough one. Girl.
I'll pick LSU.
I'm taking Bama. I think. I'm big on Bama. I think they're on a roll. They're not going anywhere. This LSU game's like that Tennessee game. It's personal. He's gonna be chewing on a cigar afterwards. They've got bad blood there. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough one. I think 3 points is a fair pick 'em. Clemson versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame favored by 3. It's at Clemson. I know Dabo got done yelling, but I feel like this is too close. Clemson just has not looked like a great football team, and Notre Dame kind of starting to find a stride a little bit. I like Notre Dame all day here.
Yeah, I'm picking Notre Dame and their quarterback over Clemson and their quarterback, and that being only -3. Yeah.
Clemson plays well at home. I think this is a night game, but look, if some of the things that are coming out of Clemson right now, including Dabo's meltdown, not to mention it sounds like in a couple of these close losses, Cade Klubnik, the quarterback there, has made some audibles, some adjustments, some on the fly changes that have not gone quite very well for Clemson. That tells me that there's a bigger issue, a distrust issue with the team and the coach. I'm going to go ahead and take Notre Dame here. I think that Clemson can hang because it's at home, but I think Notre Dame pulls away late, and there are significant problems in Dabo land. I think we'll see that as the year winds down.
Huskers versus State. Huskers favored by 3. They're kind of making a little bit of a burner here. Dave?
Let me see. Nebraska, Michigan State. I'll pick Nebraska.
Stevie?
Yeah, Nebraska, Michigan State is in shambles right now.
Agreed. I think the Huskers, they're finding a little bit of a rhythm with Matt Rule. They get it done. This is going to be a fun one here. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is on a 6-game burner. And Oklahoma just lost to Kansas in a tight one where it was cold. This is at Oklahoma State. It's going to be interesting. Steve?
I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I'm a man. I'm 40. I like what they do out there in OSU. They got the big sticks. They like to beat the hell out of the wall and make all that racket, And I hate OU, and I think that's really what it boils down to. Screw OU.
It's not you.
I'm picking Choklahoma.
I'm making me pants.
Oklahoma. This is a tough one, guys. You guys are 50-50 here. I'm a big OSU guy. It's Ricky Fowler's home school. I need Oklahoma to lose. I think 6 points is a lot. I gotta go Oklahoma State here. Washington versus USC. Washington's favored by 3. I'm first on this one. If the last week I don't feel like we had one. North Carolina versus Miami 2 weeks ago. North Carolina was favored by 3. I said that was an absolute lock. Put your 401k on it. It's exactly how I feel about this game. The fact that they've got USC only, giving them 3 points against Washington when USC doesn't play defense and you're going up against the Heisman leader right now, unbelievable, in my opinion. I would, again, this is my 401k game. I got Washington all day here.
Look, Washington has looked like absolute dog water the last couple of games, but I don't like Caleb Williamson, and I don't really like Lincoln Riley, so I'm going to take Washington as much as I would love to see them get an L here. I'm going to take Washington to cover that.
Should I be different and pick USC? No, I'm picking Washington. I do not trust USC's defense whatsoever.
Not at all. And I got Pitt by 1 million, but that wasn't on here. Anyways, moving on to our best segment is tweets of the week. Obviously, we had Tweetgate last week. I can't confirm one of my tweets were picked, and look, I think it deserved to be picked. It was a banger of a tweet, so it wasn't like I don't feel like I forced my way in here. I earned it, rightfully so. So I do want to clarify with that. First one being, this is hilarious. There's a picture of an old guy. He goes, "Being a Gator fan isn't stressful at all. John, 26 years old." Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
It's been 84 years.
Oh, it's been a while, boy. It's been a while. This is gold. This is Kirby talking about Dan Mullen. We showed this on Sunday's show. It's absolute gold. We gotta listen to it again.
But I know it's out there. Somebody texted me before the game. It's like all these people predicting that we're not gonna, we're not gonna win today. And I'm just like, golly, where's that coming from? Supposed to be my friend. He didn't like to recruit though, so
golly. Kirby from the top rope on Dan Mullen. That was incredible.
Hey, as much as I don't like Kirby, I don't like Dan Mullen either, and I'm glad that he threw that jab out there.
That was good stuff.
I love the reporter that was filming it. You could hear his audible gasp when he said it, like,
yeah, it says Brooks Austin. Brooks Austin is part of my audible gasp. It must have been him. This is Dave pulling his own tweet. It is kind of interesting that Dave picks his tweet the week that he picks my tweet, but it's whatever. I also retweeted this. You could argue that my tweet was cooler.
Technically part of your show, though, too. So
that's true. So I was at a tailgate this weekend, and I got puked on. So here's the video footage of that.
Yes, ma'am. What the fuck? What was? Did you just puke?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm live.
What?
We're here on the air.
Are you?
Salsa up there. I ruined Sheldon's boots.
Bro, what the fuck?
I warned your viewers. We're gonna scoop that.
Yes, ma'am.
Bro.
it just hit different. Apparently, he had one too many the pouncy punch. Too much.
It was wild to me because he goes, I hate tequila. I go, why did you? He goes, yeah, you got to. I'm like, something special. I will tell you that. This one says, am I reading both things here?
You got to scroll up where, both things. Read where the lady was talking, because I looked her up, like I did research on her, so she started at Mississippi State. She started her career there.
Great background. Okay, so she tweeted, "Is it too extreme to say that Mississippi State's football is reaching Vanderbilt levels?" And somebody said, "Weird way to talk about a program whose last coach launched your career." Guys, deep.
Mississippi State affiliate Twitter.
I mean, to be fair, that I don't think that she's wrong. It's getting there.
No, I mean, I don't think that was anything bad that she said. It's like she's upset that her team that she used to cover is playing great. Like, that's all that meant.
He took a jab though. That was gold.
He did. There was an opportunity and he wasn't letting it pass.
This is my tweet. We made it, boys. Mama, we made it. Tweet of the week. Hey, we're here. Okay. I'd like to take a minute, and just thank God, thank my wife, thank my son for allowing me to post this, right? Because I'm a dad now. So without him, I wouldn't be able to even think like this and have that dad mentality. So I really appreciate everybody that's been stuck behind me up until this point. We finally made it on Tweets of the Week, and it's a true honor. Honestly, it really is. So thank you. This is the memes everywhere. It's of Vince McMahon just kind of like tearing up, like I don't want to talk about it. And I captioned it, said, "Dad, tell me about Will Greer and what could have been." It's just... Bro, that thing is going everywhere. Like you can't miss with it, to be honest with you. It's absolute gold. It's absolute gold.
Yeah, see, I told you I would take your most popular tweet and put it up there.
Thank you.
It is gold. It was pretty funny when
I mean, it was good. So, all right, last one, boys. Here, freezing cold takes. Mike Terrell on 9/9/23 says Colorado might beat Bama, might be better than Bama. There's a lot of takes like that when Colorado came out and punched TCU in the mouth and Bama looked a little flat. I think Steve said it too.
And now, like I told you, like week 1 overreactions are so stupid because now look at where TCU's at.
I agree, but it was still fun while it was. Well, boys, another jam-packed, fantastic show with all of you. S. Beck said, thank you for, what did he say here? Thanks for our Wednesday night entertainment. Excellent as always. Love you guys. Love you too, man. Appreciate everybody who came out. You guys go tell Dura that, thanks for stopping by and unsubscribing. Appreciate you as always. George, how you doing, buddy? Muddy. Always good to see you. Joe and Mike. Happy to have all of you guys as always. Scott 020, Winner's Point of View, Aaron Joyner, Levi, Chris Smith, Ben, guys hanging on here, hanging out with us. Appreciate you as always. Good show. Look, guys, we're going to be live Friday from Gainesville, Florida. There will be a Florida Victorious event going on. Sully will be there. Todd Golden will be there, the head coach of the basketball team. I know a lot of players from golf, baseball, softball, I think basketball will be there. So we're going to try to get them on the show. It's from 5 to 7. We will be there live. High Top Sports will be streaming that event. So if you guys aren't doing anything on Friday night, come tune in. If you're a Florida Victorious members and want to come be a part of that event, come on down to Gainesville. It's obviously just before Arkansas. So if you're down there and you're a member, come say hey, come say what's up.
And it's free.
Yeah, if you're a member, it's free. Or is it just free in general? Or if you got to be a member?
It's free you got to be a member.
So you got to pay some way. And if you guys want to sign up for Florida Victorious, use the code HIGHTOP, get 20% off your first month subscription. So also, too, guys, if you guys are going to gamble, be degenerates with us, go to mybookie.ag and use the code HIGHTOP to get a little present when you do deposit your money so you can gamble and be degenerates and win with Steve and Dave. Not myself at all. But look, great show as always. Have an absolute blast. Always hanging out with you boys on this beautiful Wednesday. A little bit more of a somber Wednesday than normal. Hopefully next Wednesday we're picked back up. We're rocking and rolling. Be good, guys. Love you. Till next time, I'm Shelton.
I'm Holly.
And I just report the news.